Attention gamers. Anyone with eyeballs can see that Riot Games has been crushing it lately, just knocking it out of the park, really making their sugar daddy happy, and when it comes down to it the only reason a company needs to give 10% of its employees an early unannounced weekend with no warning is because Lux skins aren't quite selling like they used to. You see, me and everyone else who is hopelessly addicted to this piss pit already have spent our lunch money on these dank G-yachts that the now unemployed rioters slaved away to make for us, which according to my flawed logic means the lack of income is coming from a lack of new players. Which would make sense considering this game is about as new player friendly as working on an oil rig when first timers go from playing a mobile game quality tutorial Fantasyland depiction of this game only to spend the next 30 games playing against Chinese bots who are just leveling up accounts to be sold. Then when you finally start playing against real players, it's likely a challenger grandmaster chess player with 40,000 hours logged to the game doing his 65th unranked to challenger series while you stand out like a sore thumb in these games as the only new player, which brings me to today's video. In a recent game I showed how I had my suspicions that Riot snuck a beginner bot into one of my lobbies, but after seeing her talk in chat I realized this was a real human and that an entire video was now going to be devoted to her behavior to show just how bad this game is for a new player. But before you say whoa 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 and the woke mob gets their cancel Karen pitchforks out saying it's triggering them that I would highlight the failures of another player, I just want to say, suck it up. But also I took as many precautions to hide the identity of said noob to prevent this, and while every other modern game in the world has ways to fully anonymize its players, Riot just laid off all the employees who were probably working on that feature, so I figured to cover my tracks even further, I will just commentate this Sped Apes gameplay, as if it was mine and I was the Sped Ape, to trick your little woke league minds into thinking I'm just making fun of myself. So let's get started. So right off the bat I decide to ask that walrus to give me a tier to start, because as you'll see I just willy-nilly like to fire off abilities in random directions all laning phase, and this lets me do that a bit more without running out of mana. Now I've heard of this phrase called leashing once from a buddy, but they didn't explain what it meant, so I typically start my games by running straight to the tall grass in my lane and plopping my handy dandy trinket in the other grass even though it disappears before the game actually starts. Sometimes there will be some action going down in river, so I will run up there, fire a single auto and giddily face checking a bush that is notorious for having the entire enemy team in it before going back to my lane, where I wonder if I can remember what that leash word meant again. I'm always confused at how at the beginning of every game it seems like the other 3 people in my lane are always late to the party, but hey, I'm not complaining because it just means I can focus on getting the first few last hits.
Bruh. Bruh. Bruh.
It was now time for me to apply some pressure. Before continuing to W key for a few seconds and then firing a fat Q at the spot where I saw their steel ninja 6 seconds ago. My support by the looks of it might be a literal pro player as he is really provoking them, so I figured popping my heel instead of following up on the 3rd consecutive hook he's landed would be the best play here before landing a field goal with my Q. This leaves one of them low, so I know just what to do. But a minute later I have this insane revelation that if I actually attack the 3% health enemy that my Giga Chad support keeps hooking, it might get us a kill, so I walk into melee range to fire a pebble, and sure enough I am totally on pace to carry this game. And what do I spend my first blood fortunes on, you may ask? That's easy, a longsword and a quick stack of magic resist, which I think will fare nicely against the players on their team. I start noticing that my support is randomly taking last hits from me, which is why I'm standing still trying to figure out why he would do such a thing, especially considering that I've been doing so well at getting them myself, but he's doing a good job applying pressure, and I know the best way I can support his efforts is to run in the opposite direction of him during these trades before drinking both of the Kool-Aids I bought from that walrus back in base when I'm sitting at 95% health. We have them backed into their statue again, and I know the grumpy grandpa on my team will probably grab them, so I'll be ready to auto attack a minion when he does before prepping another insane combo. And I know what most of you are thinking when watching my less than coordinated gameplay. This weak loser should just give up. They probably have a $5 keyboard and stare at defeat screens all day with grubby fingers and weak wrists, and you weren't always wrong. But then I discovered Hallskern. With a Hallskern watch my life immediately started transforming. My wrists evoked power and masculinity, my $5 keyboards were replaced with one that a man with more distinguished taste and talents would have. I'd spend my days staring at victory screens while fending off all the women who started showing interest, all because of this one brand. This small family Austrian company with products made from natural materials and grains to ensure that every product is truly unique, from only FSC certified wood, has made 1,000 sophisticated designs and with over 1 million satisfied customers. I quickly became one before my one became two. I locked her down, and with Valentine's Day coming up I knew just the way to treat my new lady, with a Hallskern watch for herself. And so if you want to transform your entire life with one simple purchase, check my link in the description and use code RAV15 to get 15% off your order with guaranteed shipping until Valentine's Day if you place your order before February 11th. But my stud arc was yet to happen at this point in time, as I was still in the grubby finger celibacy stage where I would rotate late to fights and then use the fact that I have 80% more health than all the other participants to my advantage by running away until they are able to focus on me, to which I would stand still like a tower defense turret and let them piñata my ass for the kill. And typically people buy more items when they go back to base, but I decided I would rather sit on the gold and rely on my anal beads that I bought earlier. Plus the tier that I started with would allow me to spam combos like this, and then back up and just stand there like I just shit myself. And I'm trying to figure out how I should handle the situation, but not to fear, because the next time I get a whiff of a team fight I'm going to properly flash into battle and then see if I can position myself so that there's an enemy on every side before somehow losing a slap battle against this water whipping bitch who didn't even buy magic resist items yet. But this court-ordered trip back to Fountain would just give me another opportunity to buy more items. Psych bitches, you won't fool me into spending these hard-earned golds. You see, there's a lot of secrets to this game that most people just don't have the emotional intelligence to fully grasp. For example, if you stand in the shrubs the enemy can't see you and won't even know you are there. But if you think I'm gonna buy any items, you are crazy, as only a moron would do that. But on second thought, I have been making a bunch of trips back from base, so picking up a pair of boots is an exception to my rule here. For some reason my support seems to have gotten annoyed with my unique style of gameplay, as he has been hanging out mid more and more often, which is fine. It just means I need to peacock a bit, spread these feathers and let these fuckboys know that I have been maxing my net and I'm not afraid to use it. But you're a mere fool if you think I've just been spamming my abilities towards absolutely nothing all this time without a purpose. You see, I've been training myself so that when the next fight in a forest breaks out I become the Michael Jordan of trying to steal an undeserved kill before reuniting with my support to chase down this steel-toed shit stain. And even though he does manage to get away, this is exactly what trained snipers like me wake up with a fat fucking boner thinking about. As you see, I stand still, quietly, in river, while I prepare my shot, and then I fire that shit at the full health ADC in lane. But when I kick off a fight by immediately ulting her down to 95% health, I need to capitalize on it quick by getting to her fast, hence the flash and then melee mode, because business is in order. And I honestly think we should consider blaming my support for this absolute embarrassment of a hook, as my entire strategy was revolving around him not playing this one like a beginner bot. But lesson learned, you just have to play for yourself in this game. Which is why the next time you see me ult my full health opponent, I don't commit to the fight because I know I'm being held back by my idiot support, and rather I just use my abilities to intimidate my foes instead. And since I know probably a lot of you are still watching this video as a way to pick up on some gameplay tips, I should mention that when these little hooded Renaissance babies parade their way to your statue, it can be hard to get gold from them, which is why you see me firing my abilities in this case. And oh yay, always use your heal on cooldown too. And I don't want to be treated like a hero, but I did take down a tower like it was of a white man who lived during the era of slavery. And while most people would back out at this point knowing of the dangers that can come from an unwarded jungle, but not me. You see, I make the enemy think I just wasted all my cooldowns just to bait them in, where I reveal that I still had the biggest one. After landing 2 consecutive abilities and being a bit flashy, I've come to expect that they will pursue me with the goal of becoming my friend and siphoning free League of Legends advice off of me. But that's where I starve those jealous jerk-offs of their desires by running away and letting them stare at my sweet cheeks as I get away. That is just until I cash out on the gold I've been hoarding all game to buy a very specific selection of items that are inquisitively designed to complement my flawless gameplay. As I am now the one in pursuit of he who used to pursue me in order to teach them a lesson. Which is that they clearly learned well from watching me before. As the game progresses, my role in teamfights becomes more crucial as I aim to make big contributions from afar. before single-handedly rushing in like a mobile Pokécenter to just barely save my support's life in time with a clutch heal. I also choose to enter teamfights late as 1 it allows for me to have a grand more impactful entrance, but 2 it means the enemies have likely used up all their resources killing my teammates, and the only feasible way for them to kill me at that point would be if I walked into melee range, stood still and let them, which I occasionally do just to prove my own point. It's important to note that if you do get trapped by an ability, you can just net your way out, then walk back in, and then have to flash out as a tricky way to keep your foes guessing. Your health may be low and there may be these berries in river that could restore you to a healthier point, but time is always of the essence in this game, and my mission here was to rush back to our base to assist my team in the 4v1 they had going on with the enemy support, and to make sure he was sent home with a party favor. Some of you may question my build, I know, but I want to use this clip to emphasize that any fights that I did lose at this point were purely because my teammates weren't playing around the kills that I was setting up for them. And typically ganking isn't an AD carry's job, but as a new player I'd like to show that I have the skills to potentially do it all, as I surely won't be uninstalling after this particular experience. But encounters like that just mean I need to be flexible in my build, so I choose to sell a Dirk so that the amount of Dirks I have equal the amount of brain cells I have, which also lets me buy this orange looking bow, to which I make sure to get into that team fight with a flash and start showing off its raw power. This doesn't go to plan because this is a team game after all, and clearly I've earned the ability to question my teammates' decisions at this point, and I doubt anyone will argue that one, so unfortunately we lose this one even though Riot's replay system says we won. Must have been one of the laid off employees who was working on that bug, and with that, I think I've proved that I'm ready for ranked lobbies. Don't forget to transform your entire life by purchasing a Hallskern watch with my link below. Rav out.